Florida, a place where dreams never die, but are reanimated against everyone's will. An entire state whose citizens are profoundly mentally ill, yet not criminal enough to be placed behind bars permanently. When the unmarked graves of our country's vast desert communities are full, well, the dead will walk Florida. So I'm taking you right into the danger zone tonight with Beach Bum that came out in 2019, with Mermaid that came out in 2025. I'd go to bed in Havana thinking about you. Pissing a few moments ago, I looked down at my penis affectionately. Knowing it has been inside you twice today makes me feel beautiful. Oh, beautiful words from the beautiful Moondog, a Pulitzer Prize winning poet. Not a serious man, but a penetrating presence. He isn't simply a Floridian. He transcends state lines, broader borders. He's man at his peak. But he does have a bit of a drug problem, and he hasn't written a new poem in decades. He's not just stagnating, he's somehow descended further than what any reasonable man would consider rock bottom. But a simple man's bottom is, well, that's just Moondog's prime. When he scraped off the floor of a houseboat in the Florida Keys to arrive late to his daughter's wedding as high as the heavens, he pulls up on his barnacled, smoking motorboat, dressed like a shift lead at a Margaritaville. Ah, and the wedding guests, they swell with pride as if they're welcoming George Washington from across the Delaware. He's a local legend, you understand. So of course the film must be soundtracked by Trop Rock's finest, old JB, Jimmy Buffett. He does make a cameo in the film as well. Snoop Dogg is Moondog because they're both dirty dogs. All I've had today was Dr. Pepper, so I might be dying. I apologize. But Snoop Dogg, Moondog, he's Moondog's best friend, and he introduces him to the strongest strain of marijuana in the world, with both of them sincerely believing this is the precise motivation he needs to finish his new book of poems. The only thing that ruins Moondog's aesthetic is his wife's vast wealth. Their marriage, it's strong, rife with drug and alcohol abuse, as well as many, many, many extra marital relationships. But the love, it's real, man. When one of their nights of partying ends in her death, Moondog's share of her fortune is contingent upon finishing his new book of poems. His immediate reaction is, of course, to invite over unhoused individuals to trash his mansion in frustration, and he's then arrested and remanded to court-ordered rehab, but is able to break out when he meets the most party rock version of Zac Efron. You're not even gonna believe it's him. If I didn't tell you, you might not even recognize him. You would think it's like the Bizarro version of Zac Efron, which I choose to believe is real. He's like a boil out of a bog, a Floridian bog that just bursts into a person. Um, and he's possibly been remanded to rehab for his addiction to explosives, which is not a metaphor. He breaks them out of the rehab center by exploding the rehab center. And from there, Moondog descends further into genius by incorporating his wife's clothing into his wardrobe until he is fully clothed in a pink feathered robe and halter top as he delivers his new book at a Pulitzer banquet. To no one's surprise, he is met with thunderous applause. He also meets up with Martin Lawrence, who I'm not sure knew he was in a film. And it's some of his finest work, which is very hard for me to say because he also has some of Florida's best cinema in the Bad Boys series. So it's hard to say, the Bad Boys series, maybe it's apples and oranges, and we shouldn't be comparing them because, we don't need to qualify cinema like that. We don't need to qualify art like Beach Bum and the Bad Boys series like that. Maybe it's highly disrespectful. I apologize to, of course, Mr. Harmony Korine, and to legendary Michael Bay. I apologize for even going there. It didn't even need to happen. Let's forget about it and focus on all of the great stuff that Martin Lawrence has brought us. So Martin Lawrence in this film, he operates a frighteningly dangerous, even for Florida, dolphin excursion. And he is clearly stealing valor from a war that he would be much too young to fight in. But he's also, he might very well be a mystic, a real alchemist of Florida's ooze-filled coast. Corpse. I almost said corpse. Same thing. Um, he has this taxidermied parrot who is somehow quite alive and can speak. But unfortunately for him, he can also not tell the difference between sharks and dolphins. And on this particular day, instead of diving with dolphins, he succumbs to a very grisly murder by sharks in front of horrified tourists. And it's really everyone's best performance. Moondog is Matthew McConaughey at his most Matthew McConaughey. Speaking of actors who may not even know they're in a film, and when Moondog finally receives his inheritance, he requests all the millions in cash and does possibly the most degenerate thing that even the most criminally insane person could never conceive of, and he laughs about it. Um, I saw this in the theaters because, of course, I have. If you've seen anything from the channel before, you've probably seen I've featured a lot of Harmony Korine, however you say his last name, buddy. I love you. I don't know how to say it yet. I don't know why. I haven't learned in the several years I've been talking about you how to say your last name, and I do apologize. I don't think he cares. He might hate me, who knows? That's justified, but I love him, man. So as a real Harmony head, of course, I did see this in the theaters. I saw this in a Woodland Hills mall. The latest showing there was with one other person in the theater. It was a man with a clearly drawn on beard, bejeweled jeans, and continuously hit his watermelon vape throughout the runtime. And he had to replace his cartridge several times. And you know what? Any other time I would be absolutely furious, but this particular night, this particular film, it was absolutely transcendent. I believe nowadays they probably would call this 4D cinema and upcharge you like $40. But I really did feel Moondog's warm smile in the theater that night as I got it all absolutely free. Now, Tyler Cornack. Love Tyler Cornack. I was just hoping that I was going to be able to feature him on the channel at least once. Because I love his films. And I also noticed in the last season of Bad Thoughts, the Tom Segura series on Netflix, that he directed like a ton of those episodes, which I thought like that's so in line because I've always considered him like a sort of like birthed from like Tim and Eric's bedtime stories, which I'm a huge Tim and Eric fan, and I absolutely adore bedtime stories. And I feel like everyone's always asking them to come back or make more of that, but they don't realize it's like we have it right here in front of us, our own iteration Tyler Cornack. So I first discovered Tyler through his, I believe it was his first film, Butt Boy. Fantastic film, perfect film, if we can qualify it in that way. I discovered it on John Waters' year-end list of some of his favorite films. He does it every year, and I'm so excited when he drops it. Because like any other freak, John Waters is a messiah, and yeah, no exception with me. I love him, and I love when he drops that because it's always, yeah, sure, there's like some established stuff on there. There's some stuff that you know, but there's a lot of stuff that he features from new filmmakers. Okay, so I finished that out completely and I was like, I nailed it, dude. Yeah, didn't realize my camera had shut off. But I was talking about John Waters' list and how great it is. It is a treasure trove, really, of new and some of your new favorites. So I highly recommend checking that out when he drops it. It's usually between like Christmas and New Year's. So take a look out for that, and you'll discover things like Bud Boy. Um, and Butt Boy is really a perfect film in my eyes. It is a film about a listless man who discovers a thrilling obsession with consuming things with his ass. Things become complicated as children go missing. And the question of the film is this fetish for butt play connected to the missing parties? It culminates in a supremely avant-garde, artisan crafted climax all inside of a man's rectum. It's cinema at its finest. Check it out if you know it's good for you. So with this in mind, I was very excited when I heard about Mermaid. And I desperately wanted to catch it in a theater. Um, but it was only playing at a theater with really bad vibes. I know it's a totally different place now, but that particular theater did used to go by another name. Angelinos will recognize it as Cinefamily. I know, it just sends shivers up your spine. They used to play a ton of cool shit, but it did give me scabies one time, and it was also later closed due to sexual misconduct allegations. So it's like I hate to throw out the baby with the bathwater, but sometimes in life you just can't go back. And I apologize to the new establishment. I won't say its name here because I don't want to give anyone a bad taste. Because obviously it's new people, new place, new name. It's just, for me, it just still very much feels haunted by its history and allegations of the past. Um, and I always get a little itchy when I think about it. But it's a great place. It's obviously showing things like this, so all power to it, man. But back to Mermaid. It starts out with a dedication as a love letter to Florida, and it lives up to the promise in every way, as if every setting was a real place, untouched by set decoration. The costume design, as if they raided the closet of every location they shot. It's drenched in sweaty neon light. Ah, like the filthiest sunshine neo-noir. The characters are sun-baked deadbeats with sweat rings on their wife beaters, and the women are perpetually stuck in the business casual fashion of the early 2000s. Our main character, Doug, is a fringe incel drug addict. Like Moondog, he's also somewhat of a poet himself. But his talents are wasted on uninterested sex workers. He loves fish and he cares for the local strip club's aquarium, and he does a beautiful job. Really, this was one of those locations I was watching where I was like, damn, is that real? What an inspired place. Yeah, honestly, because he does a beautiful job, keeps it exceptionally pristine until he's fired for his unrequited prose. In an attempt to kill himself and dispose of his body in the sea, he instead discovers a near dead mermaid. The practical character design is something ripped directly from a gay hole nightmare. It is absolutely fantastic. He takes her back home and keeps her drugged up real good so she can't escape his companionship. And we come to find out that he has a daughter with the only woman he has ever slept with after a drunken night together. Um, the story of how they met is just deranged and disturbed, and it's a goodie. Um, but as his daughter approaches her preteens, she begins to find him just as off-putting as other women. Kevin Nealon has become the head of his household, and Doug suffers from some of the most repressed cop derangement syndrome I've ever seen. When his daughter's birthday rolls around, to everyone's horror, he decides to dress up as Fish Maiden and bring her to his daughter's birthday party, where there are children. Predictably, she looks like Norma Bates, who is prone to spewing black vomit all over everyone. Um, and he's also in deep to some pretty fantastic drug dealers, who he's like desperate to keep away from his new pet, with the fear that they might exploit her. As much as Shape of Water is written and directed by a lover, this is written and directed by an obscene pervert. And I say this with the utmost reverence. Shape of Water is the pursuit to make a warm and consensual fish romance. But Mermaid is like softcore fish slays. The thing that I love about Tyler's films is that he doesn't let his independence hold him back. Everything from the acting to cinematography to the score, composed by Tyler himself, are all exceptionally top tier. Everyone's taken their job seriously. But I think what sets him apart from his influences, are that even though the subject matter is absurd, he handles the story with such care. You feel as if he is respecting the story of its survivors. You genuinely get caught up in Doug's limerence. Every character is an archetype, but grounded in real emotional and narrative stakes. There's a genuine nature to the whole thing that might catch you off guard if you go in expecting merely bizarre art house trash. This is exactly what I wanted from Guillermo's Shape of Water. Untamed, feral, raw, bleeding heart. And as crazy as it all sounds, when you're watching it, it feels just as natural as watching a documentary. You're rooting for Doug to abandon his family. He's got a mermaid to save, damn it. Even though it'll ruin him. And that's the power of love, baby. So what is one man's white trash is another's finest cinema. Mermaid is one of the year's best, and Beach Bum is a perfectly in tune duet with Harmony's Spring Breakers. Succumb to sunstroke and take a Buffettism for your journey. If a hurricane doesn't leave you dead, it'll make you strong. Don't try to explain it. Just nod your head, breathe in, breathe out, move on. Grab a couple marks and let the storm blow you right along to where exactly you need to be.